What's happened with the board? Why isn't it doing this hearing? What other motives are there? Now, one of the factors that you've cited that I learned only after our phone conversation about this subject on the bridge, the I-35W bridge in Minneapolis, was that the board felt that the staff felt that the hearing would delay publication of the report. I'm not so concerned about the timeliness of a report as I am about the substantive nature of the report and the inclusiveness and the role of the board in conducting these public meetings, which go to the transparency, the clarity, the openness of the board, and the opportunity to learn and to teach. And you never know, you can never say that we're not going to learn anything from this, because you never know what you're not going to learn.
So you're right in that occasion, that, in fact, you never know what you don't know.
But what I can't find is a consistency in the pattern. And it's not so important whether the board voted with or against the staff, but on what basis and what were the substantive issues. And I find no consistency in the basis on which public hearings, determination to hold public hearings is made or not.
I think the vast majority, Mr. Chairman, are based on what the professional staff is presenting to us if they need additional information.
Well, now, in the instant case, for the staff to say it's going to delay publication of the report says to me you don't have enough staff, and that the staff doesn't have enough confidence in or has a condescending attitude toward other specialists in the field who might bring information the board, the staff have not seen, have not heard, have not been exposed to. And I think this is a critically important matter. I want to tell you, in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, in the greater Minnesota area, there is huge skepticism about the objectivity of the board in conducting this inquiry. And I'm not asking you, I'm telling you that a public hearing will dispel, go a long way to dispel the questions raised and the lack of trust in the board's actions. I am constantly asked by citizens, by reporters, by local officials, by state legislators, what's happened with the board? Why isn't it doing this hearing? What other motives are there? And I think you need, as chairman, and your fellow board members and your staff need to go back and reconsider that decision, and to be inclusive of the public, and to be respectful of the loss of life that occurred, and of the unique situation of this bridge. The elision was one of a kind. There have been other hazmat crashes in the rail sector. 38,000 people were evacuated from Duluth and Superior when a benzene spill occurred in a rail crash. The board didn't hold a hearing. I don't quarrel with that. There was no there were no unique circumstances, but this was one of a class of bridges of which there are 740. We haven't had a public hearing on a bridge failure in over 20 years. This is an opportunity for a teaching moment and a learning moment for the board and for its staff, and I urge you to go back and reconsider it.
You are a very persuasive man. I have great respect for you. And I don't enjoy being in your doghouse, believe me. We have had a wonderful relationship unfortunately, up until just the last month or two, and I want to get that relationship back. We will be doing, Mr. Chairman, an excellent presentation, an excellent sunshine presentation where this will get a public airing like nothing we have done before, sir. When this is complete, and there will be peer review ad nauseum as a relation to that. And we will have it done, sir, before this year is over. They're working hard to achieve that, Mr. Chairman. Believe me, they are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Costello. you've just made the best argument for an open public hearing. Thank you.
I want to make sure, because I've been sensitized by Chairman Oberstar, and I don't want to do this again. I'm not going to be telling you what happened to that bridge yet.
Chairman Rosenker, on the issue, why is the staff memo, which triggers the vote of the board on whether or not to hold a public hearing, why is that confidential?
Sir, sometimes there are things in that that are sensitive.
But I mean, see, you can understand the chairman's concern, and I think mine, and I got to disagree with Mr. Micah. This is how conspiracy theories get born. You know,
okay.
It's like your staff secretly makes a recommendation. You have a split vote, 3-2. You decide not to hold a public hearing. I understand what you say the end point disclosure is going to be, but that's going to be the point at which you've made conclusions. And I also don't understand. You know, I understand there's a fair amount of work that goes into holding a good hearing, but I don't see why it would cause 4 months delay in the process unless you're saying that, you know, something might come up at the hearing that would trigger further investigation or a different direction in the investigation.
Mr. DeFazio, the history, and the only thing I can go on, sir, I've been here 5 years. Mm-hmm. We've looked at the entire history, and the statistics show it adds anywhere between 2 and 4 months to the conclusion of an investigation. And as it relates to the
that's just by the mere fact of holding a hearing because you have to respond to issues raised in the hearing. Is that it?
No,
just by just the physical. So this perhaps goes back to the point you made. We won't be able to get the additional people we could use, and critical work will be delayed or go undone. So if you had gotten those additional staff, could you hold the hearing and then not have a 4-month or 2-month delay?
In this particular case, we have some specialists that have some unique skills and capability and knowledge that would be the appropriate people if we're going to do a substantive hearing. They would be taken away and be drawn into doing the work of getting the witnesses, coming up with the appropriate agenda, dealing with the questions, doing the research. When that happens, because we're not 2 and 3 and 4 deep, the work that they are doing stops.
Well, I just got to say I don't find the 2 to 4 months credible. A week, 2 weeks, what? But
our committee last year, our various subcommittees held 17 hearings. We heard from 710 witnesses, 394 hours of hearings. If your board staff can't conduct a hearing on one issue, then they need to come and take lessons from ours. I think that this judgment that was made, and the staff, in my recollection, rarely, if ever, recommends a public hearing. It's the board members who make a decision. So that's why you're there, to take into account the public interest and the learning opportunity and learning experience from, and in this case, an issue that reflects upon a whole category of bridge failures or potential failures.